Hello, I'm Kitchen Knife Guru from kitchenknifeguru.com, a website blog dedicated to caring for kitchen knives. Today I want to do a video on how to hone or steel your kitchen knife. I'm going to be using a DMT ceramic hone. It's a 1200 grit, which is very fine, 12 inches long, which means it works well with chef knives, 8-inch knife. Also work with a 10-inch knife. You got plenty of room to work with. This was first recommended to me, this type of hone, by one of my favorite professional sharpeners, an outfit out in Washington called Seattle Knives. And he recommended a fine grit ceramic because it's very hard, harder than steel, believe it or not, and harder than Japanese steel, which is actually some of the hardest steel. And also, it's fairly gentle though. It's not as harsh or rough as other steels can be, so it's a great combination. Basically, the idea of when you're honing a knife is that you're stroking the knife down the hone and you're realigning the edge of the knife. You're not taking off steel, you're not sharpening it. You're just realigning, pushing back the edge of the very edge of the knife that's gotten pushed down and dulled that way, and you're realigning it, bringing that back up to a sharp edge. There's two really important things to remember. It's a really pretty simple thing to learn how to do. But you do remember it's important to learn to do it the right way, and there's two things. The first thing is you want to make sure that you understand the right angle and you're consistent with applying that angle. And I'll talk about that more in a second. The second thing is that you want to make sure that you don't press too hard. Again, you're not sharpening, so you don't have to really dig in. You're just giving just the weight of the knife plus a little bit of extra pressure, but you're not really crunching in on the knife. Those are the two important things to remember. Now, position. I prefer this perpendicular position on a counter. You might have seen videos, or might have seen people doing this type of thing, which is really fun and flashy, and that's fine, but you know, it's very hard to kind of determine what your angle is if you're doing this type of thing. So this position, this is stationary. It's much easier to be clear and focused on what the angle you're sharpening on. You notice that I have a cloth down here. You can do a cutting board. You need something down underneath it to protect the counter from the knife and the knife from the counter. And of course I have the knife in my right hand, my best hand. If you're left-handed, turn it the other way around. That's the way you start off. Now, what is the correct angle? The correct angle, in a nutshell, it's 20 or 22 degrees. But it really should be basically the angle that the knife, the factory angle or the last sharpened angle of the knife. Generally that's the same thing, but sometimes you might have a knife that had came with a certain factory bevel, as you'd say, and it was sharpened, then changed, and the sharpening angle will be different. That sometimes happens with Western knives. You might have a Western knife with that angle, and it might be made sharper. Japanese knives are more acute. They tend to be 15 degrees, sometimes down to 10 degrees, so it's a more acute angle. So you need to know the knife and get some idea of how it's been sharpened. Okay, tricks to figuring out that angle that we're going to be using today. This is a Western knife, so we're going to be doing it 22 degrees. First trick, you draw out imaginary box, and here's a 90-degree angle. Boop. Cut it in half, that's 45 degrees, cut it in half again, that's 22.5 degrees, then I take it just a touch more up to 20, there you go, got the angle. Trick number one. Trick number two, use some paper. Got this paper here, fold it, you've got 45 degrees, kind of heading towards a half of a plane or something. Fold it one more time, and you've got 22.5 degrees. Take that puppy up here, put it against there, but that's kind of awkward, so cut one down here. So what you do, you cut it down a little, hold that with one hand, bring your knife up, let go, there you go, you've estimated that angle. Sweet. Alright, but we're going to start up here. You start with the knife at the top of the hone, and with the heel of the knife touching it. Let me just re-estimate that again. We're here, 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 right? Now, that's in position, you pull it down and towards you, maintaining that angle. There you go. Now you go to the other side. Get that angle in there. Start with the heel down towards you. Down towards you. Keeping that angle constant. You're going to normally do this with a knife that's in pretty good condition. Just 2 or 3 times per side. Just 2 or 3 times per side. Boom. It should be back in shape. Now, if it's not, then you can do it a few more times. You can do it, 7, 8, or 9 times. Try it some more. Check it out. See how it feels. Try it on some food. If it's still not, working the way you think it should be, back to its sharpness, then there are 3 things that are probably responsible for that. Okay? Number 1, you might be too gentle. You might need to press in a touch more. Number 2, you probably need to refine the angle. Maybe you're making it too acute, so it's not quite on it, so you're not really reaching the steel. Or, worse yet, you could be making it too steep, so you're actually subtly dulling the knife. So you need to try tweaking what you had. Ideally, you want to be, when in doubt, you want to be a little more acute and steep and work your way out, because this becomes more towards the dulling action. If you come here, you're not touching it. As you work out, getting closer to it. And number 3, the third thing would be that you got a dead knife. A knife that has just been used so hard, it can't be revived through honing. So there's really not much you can do about it. Send it out, get it sharpened, or if you know how to sharpen knives well yourself, sharpen it yourself. How often should you do this? Well, actually, ideally you should do it after every time you use the knife. But if you can't do that, try it after every other time you use the knife. And if you can't do that, try it twice a week, once a week, once every 2 weeks. Once every 2 weeks is less than ideal. It's going to be, it's going to help, absolutely, but you're going to end up having to sharpen that knife much sooner than you normally would if you could hone a little more regularly. So you really want to get into a regular habit of doing it. And to help you with that, I highly recommend putting your hone, storing it in a really handy-dandy place. I put mine right under here in this drawer right here, but near your knives or some place that you're around the kitchen that you can grab, not far off some place that you have to make a big trip to get. You want it really fast and you can grab it. And along with that, I recommend putting a little cheat sheet of just short bullet points of, to remind yourself, especially when you first start doing it. Obviously, once you get the hang of it, you don't need it. Put that with the hone, bring them both out, boom, you're doing it. It's going to help you do it faster and not resist doing it, and it'll work really well. Last thing is when should you hone? Well, basically anytime. You can hone after you've used the knife, you can hone in between uses, you can hone right before you use the knife. But some people definitely prefer doing it right before they use the knife. They feel that the knife is just been realigned then, so that the edge is nice and fresh. They feel that if there's a time elapse between the time you honed it and you're using it, the steel sometimes can spread a little, can loosen up a little, so it's not quite as aligned as it had been before, so I like to do it right before. That's fine. Whatever works for you, but the main thing is do it, and do it regularly. This is Kitchen Knife Guru signing off. Feel free to check out the website, kitchenknifeguru.com, where you can learn more about this and other subjects pertaining to kitchen knives. And thanks for watching.